Welcome to this episode of YouTube. We are featuring the Working for Wolves project list, so if you are one of the 14 people coming for Working for Wolves, let me warn you, it's going to be wet, and it's probably going to be cooler than you might expect. It is snowing today. Yes, those are leaves on the trees. Yes, that's green grass, and yes, that's snow coming down. So it's a spring storm, not as bad as the Dakotas, but we will probably get accumulations on the ground. Already have accumulations, actually, probably about an inch. We hope that it will warm up, but unfortunately the moisture is going to be such that it's going to be wet and dirty work this weekend, which I guess it wouldn't be a Working for Wolves if it wasn't wet and dirty. The other issue that we're facing is this colder weather is certainly making the wolves a little cranky, and so we'll have to be very mindful of how much time the wolves are in holding and be very adaptable. If they're having stress because they're held off the exhibit, we're going to have to let them back out. As you may have seen from the itinerary, we are going to host a webinar at 10:15 on Saturday. So we plan on starting at 8 o'clock and getting a fair amount of this straw out and getting some wood chips in, getting maybe some treats back in, and then at 10:15 we'll do a webinar that features the wolves coming back into the exhibit, which will be a lively webinar. Very exciting. So if you can't join us for Working for Wolves, you can join us for the webinar, and that is at wolf.org under events. Go to webinars and you will find that webinar listed there. It's only 30 minutes and it's a great time to see the wolves active, and they will investigate every scent, every smell, every step that a person takes in that enclosure will be investigated by the pack, and so it will be a lively webinar. And so a couple of the projects here on top of the den, we've got some erosion and some sand. We'll be bringing in 2 truckloads of sand and dumping it in the enclosure. Fortunately, we can't dump it up on top of the den, so we have to wheel it up to the top of the den. We'll also want to aerate the soil inside the den. The straw this year has been restricted to the front of the exhibit and inside the 2 dens, so we'll have to haul straw out of there first and then be able to, again, get that sand up towards the top of the den. So a lot of pail work and a lot of certainly wheelbarrow work. So this is what I was hoping for, was warm weather, things dry out, makes the straw nice and easy to rake instead of the big wet globs of who knows what coming out of the bottom of the layer of the straw. So, but that's how life is on Working for Wolves. Those of you who have been on it for years, you know that moisture is part of the game. And so we will also, this tree here, there's a cherry tree that's got a little bit of a fungal issue, so we'll be pruning some of those trees as well. I really hate to take out vegetation in a wolf pen because the wolves do a fair amount of that vegetation removal on their own, but we'll be having to do a little bit of tree health issues. We're also going to plant some trees. This is perfect weather for planting trees. Trees love this moisture, and so this den here, the slate den that Luna just jumped off of, is going to get some sand as well, and we will pressure wash the raven droppings from the front of the rock. The windows will be cleaned. The pond is already filling. We actually, because it was so hot early on, we tried to start the pond and it didn't actually unthaw underground until about maybe 2 days ago because of the rain that we actually got down 7 feet of the frost and opened up. So the pond is not anything that we have to wash. We already cleaned it and it's filling, but we do have to do the raven droppings at the edge of the rocks and clean those up. So this pile of straw, like I say, I'd hope that it would be dissipating. I don't know where I thought it would go, but definitely it's going to be a mess. So that's what we've got for the Working for Wolves project. The other thing that we're going to do is we had hoped to do some staining on the medical pen, but again, it's got to warm up significantly and get rid of some of this snow before we can do any of the staining work. So we may have some adaptations that have to be made depending upon the weather, which is why the itinerary is always dependent upon weather. So in Grizzer's area, one of the other things, so this pond here in Grizzer's area, we have some soy stain, or actually some soy paint that we put on the pond to give a little bit more traction. You can see that's fairly steep there. Grizzer's been excavating quite a bit, so he needs some work in the pond, around his pond, to haul some new sand. And the only concern that we have is Grizzer's not a big fan of work projects. So we're going to be moving him to the east side den, which is back off where the webcam is. But we have to be very mindful of his stress levels. He's very calm and very interactive with staff, but just not a big fan of a lot of work going on around him. So we'll have to definitely watch how he feels about us working around his enclosure. But we've got several different projects in the pack holding area that we'd like to get done, because that's where the pups are going to be next summer, barring no changes in the exhibit pack. The pups are going to use that pack holding area, and Grizzer's going to kind of stay on the east side during the first several months of the pups being on site. So anyway, so that's kind of the project. So we also have a dead tree here right behind Grizzer. This balsam died over the winter, and that would be something that we could remove as well. And so there may be some more trees inside the exhibit. So if we can't stain, we may have to do some tree felling. We may have to move wolves around, multiple times throughout the day, and work on small bouts of activity, and then let them back out and see how that goes. So the other thing that we'll be doing is Saturday night will be a full deer carcass for the exhibit pack, and that should be entertaining for people. Friday night we start with Cameron's review of the Wolf Stewards, the Midwest Wolf Stewards meeting, which talks a little bit about the populations of wolves here in the Midwest. And so there's plenty of opportunity for open discussions. And again, working for wolves can be equally as valuable to gain wolf information, to be able to share with people as you help us teach the world about wolves. And that is something that we are always willing to do, is to answer any questions and find resources, or have a discussion about what's going on with current management. That would certainly is not out of the realm of possibilities. The other thing is Grizzer is he has a special member tribute of his tracks. His foot tracks are being made, and we're a little low on those, so we could also be making tracks while we're here. So that's it, and hopefully those of you coming, dress warm, bring spare clothes, and don't feel bad about getting dirty. That's the Working for Wolves motto. So hope to see some of you this weekend. The others, I hope to see you on the webinar Saturday morning, 10:15, 30-minute webinar, watching the wolves get excited about their new improvements to their enclosure. So thanks for watching.